part we're missing is that it is 111 degrees. There's a fucking thermometer backstage, and I am sweating like something that fucking people sweat like Dennis Miller, check, sweating like Mark Berman at the Million Man March. And when you're up there for an hour and change, you sweat a lot. And it was a fucking disaster that these people didn't hire like one of those air conditioning tubes like on a movie when they go, we need air, and they just wire, there's like a giant, like a tunnel that your kid goes through at Gymboree and just blows fucking cold air on everybody, and then they pull it back out and you shoot a scene. Eddie had to go on after my show. It's Ian, then me. So by the time you go on the Tommy Chong is doing the 420 show.
Yeah.
So what happened? Like
4 comics on my show, and my managers were not involved.
One of which
all.
was the worst fucking comedian I've seen. I'm not gonna say anything. But you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Was so bad.
They said
I
to
was
me,
embarrassed.
Like I was at this comedy club just a few weeks ago, and the guy said, "Hey, do you want to do the Showtime show?" And I went, "Yeah." I say yes to everything.
Yeah,
now.
you should.
Everything. Because I said no to everything and it didn't get me anywhere. So now I say yes.
Jim
to
Jeffries a fucking
HBO special. So I said no to something today, but so I say yes, and I'm like, what? I've done specials. They haven't done anything for me. I'm like, whatever. I'll go do the show. And it's the 420 show, Tommy Chong. I don't even smoke pot. I haven't smoked.
You were the odd guy.
Yeah, and I'm the headliner.
What's Ifft doing?
And they tell me you're the headliner of the show. That's the way of saying you're going on last when the audience is going to be asleep. Because on a show like that,
I thought you were because you're funny to the point where I go to a theater where they're showing Showtime, where they're shooting Showtime specials, and when I see that you're there, I in my mind go, "Oh, good, Eddie's doing a special too."
Well, that's what I was supposed to do, an hour for Comedy Central. That all fell through. Then I was supposed to go do. We talked about doing an hour for Showtime, and then that fell through.
Is that because you threatened to kill everybody?
No, but then when they said, I shot an hour over at the Sydney Opera House in Australia. I shot this hour like four years ago now, and that was supposed to go on, never went on. And so I was just like, fuck it, I'll do this show, whatever. And the guy who booked me goes, I go, I have a one joke about weed, about how I lost my mind on it and I won't do it now. And so I go, like, when they said, you're going on last, I went, oh, you're fucking me again. Because I'm looking at people, the crowd is all fanning themselves. Like,
yeah, when I walked out, it was like Black Church. And I would say 20% of the audience is dressed as Tommy Chong. Like, it's old guys with white beards and, like, the John Lennon, like, regular glass. Like, they're like, hey, man, Tommy's coming out with this guy.
Did you leave? Because I don't know if you know what happened.
I stayed. He had, like, a stomach flu.
Tommy Chong has food poisoning. He's in a bed backstage. A bed. I've never seen this where we all wake up.
I've never seen
and everybody, like, paid homage to him. They walked up and, like, hello, Tommy. And all the stoners, like, massive fan, massive fan. Now, I just did the green room on Showtime with Tommy Chong.
Yeah.
So I surf with his son, Paris. So I know Paris Chong. So I'm like, they're all like backstage, like, holy shit, all the stoners are like, this is an honor to fucking meet you.
The other comics stoners?
Yeah. And I'm kind of like, I don't know why I'm on the show, Tommy. I'm looking at him like.
Yeah, for those that don't know how bizarre a setup this was, when there's a theater, there's always like this weird dressing room, just one long one with like all the lights around the mirror like you see in the movies. Mm-hmm. And then for the most part, it's like little like hovel rooms that are brick, and that's all you need. But Tommy's was in one of those brick hovel rooms, and it literally, to me, with him laying out in like this cot they made, it looked like in Platoon when Willem Dafoe goes in the tunnel and they find that fucking hospital underground. Isn't that what it looked like? And then the fact that it's fucking Tommy laying there, you're like, yo, what's with this fucking BC?
And then I start talking to his wife, and she goes, he's never been this sick before. And she's like, oh, so you're going on the show? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, do you have a lot of, she goes, are you getting high? And I go, no, I don't get high. She goes, neither does Tommy anymore.
Yeah, I heard that too. They're like, I didn't smoke pot anymore.
And I'm like,
was she funny?
So then they put me on fourth.
Time out. Let me shake your hand.
I'm all sweaty.
Give me your fucking hand. That was a fucking grown-up move.
So we go. They put me on. They put me on, and I'm just like, I had spoken to the editor. I know the editor from some other project I worked on, and he's a good dude. And I go to him, I've done these before. I bombed in Australia one time so badly, and I walked out on stage on a TV show, and I go, "You people don't even speak English." And
I don't know why they didn't rally behind you when you said that.
Because I could make it work in a club setting where I had more time, but I switched this to my first joke, and it was just a bad idea, and I felt the whole crowd shut down. And when I knew I got 5 minutes, this is over, I looked right down the barrel of the camera and delivered my joke straight to the camera and acted like I was killing.
Smart. That's what you got to do.
And
Letterman,
so,
Leno, that's what you gotta
so
do.
I said to the editor of the show, I go, look, I'm going to be bombing. He goes, no. I go, no. I've been doing stand-up for 16 years. I've done thousands of shows. I know there is zero chance of me doing well out there. This crowd's been here for 2 hours. It's 110 fucking degrees. You're going to have to hook up IVs. They've sweat so much. I said, I'm going to bomb, but I am going to pretend like I'm killing.
Right.
And you make me look
pause
good.
For your laughs.
And he goes, I will make you look so good.
Isn't it fascinate you, the guys on the fringe that don't make that walk of the last, as Buddy Hackett said, they don't walk the last 30 feet to the mic. They're fucking bizarre outsider looking in optimism like, no, man, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, asshole, this is what I do for a living.
Yeah, I know.
If I come to do your fucking drain, I know the drain's fucked.
It's like a doctor that they bring them a person and the arm's missing. And they're like, do you think you can put the arm back on him? No, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. You
but
can
then the
do it. You can do it.
like, oh, I think he'll be fine.
He's great. He's going to be. Yeah.
I said that like Albert Brooks.
I'm positive I'm bombing.
Right.
Even, when your
But did
first
you bomb?
connection
'Cause I
with an
left.
audience, I got some applause breaks, but for the most part, like if any other night I would have gone, it sucked. It was terrible. But I played it so well that they could probably make it look good.
That makes me proud of you, brother. I like that.
And the one thing I did, I drank 6 or 7 bottles of water before I went on stage because that cools down your inside. I know this from all my training. I didn't sweat one drop
Really?
on stage. And I was watching like Mark Cohen on stage and everyone on stage, and they were sweating so bad. Chris Porter. But you don't know the half of it. So they had to bring Tommy out to do his whole set. Like Tommy was going to bring us each up.
Yeah.
But then they said, we got to get him out of here. He's got food poisoning. We'll just tape him introing everyone, then get him out of here. So then they had him do his intros, then his closing, where he says, good night, everybody.
Yeah.
They have him do this after the first comic. He gets up, does that, and at the end goes, thanks for coming, everyone. Good night. The audience gets up to leave. They start yelling, sit down, sit down.
So that's another thing with the production company that Showtime hired. You got to make an announcement to the crowd. Tommy has to leave. He's sick. Don't leave your seats. So they didn't do that.
So they're all leaving. They're all leaving. They finally get everybody back in their seats, but the first couple rows are empty, and now they're trying to move people up. Nobody will move. And they start yelling at them. They're like, we need these fucking seats filled. Get up here. And they're yelling at everyone.
And now Eddie Ifft.
No, Chris Porter, who is a very funny comic, and they did it to him, and Chris had to climb out of a hole that was so hard to climb out of. No. He's the white guy with the curly hair.
Oh, yeah,
tall
yeah.
guy. And I just felt bad for
By
Chris.
the way, you cannot possibly get two people wrong that look more unalike than Chris Porter. Who's the kid, the black kid that I love?
Jay Phillips.
Good old, what's his name?
Was it Jay Phillips?
I don't know.
But poor Chris Porter, I was like, oh, I'd be punching people.
He's like if Weird Al Yankovic was from Austin.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good analogy.
I'm good at that.
Yeah,
I used to smoke a lot of grass.
And he does too. But
so he goes out. And
he's got to climb out of a hole, and he did a good job getting out of the hole they put him in. And so I go on stage, and I'm doing what I have to, and I'm actually like no connection in the beginning, none. Like, hey, how you get? So I'm doing everything I can, and you know how when you do a punchline, if someone coughs, the punchline's gone.
Yeah,
it's okay in a setup because you can reset it again,
right?
But you can't reset a punchline. I'm delivering like my most crucial punchline, one of my jokes in the beginning, and I hear, "Kunk, kunk, 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 kunk." You know when somebody tilts a fan and the blades of the fan? I look over and there's a guy like in a hallway trying to turn a fan on the audience. Just one metal fan. Like this is going to fucking help an entire theater. So I'm now at the point where I don't care about my show.
Because you heard it.
Yeah. I look at him. I look over at him and I start delivering my joke to him. Like I'm doing my next joke. Like I'm looking at you. And I'm looking at him like, do you understand why I'm staring at you? don't fucking move the fan.
But you
and
didn't snap.
No, and I'm still doing my bit.
This is big,
but I'm giving him this look. So then we have this connection, he and I, and he's kind of like shrugging his shoulders.
Hey man, someone told me to get the fan.
Yeah.
I do it.
So then I turn back and face the audience with my next joke.
LT told me grab the fan. What am I going to do?
With perfect timing, the next joke, as I go for the punchline, kunk, 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 and I look back at him, and I open my arms like Jesus, and I just go, really? Like, and I said that. I go, really? Like, you did it again. Because I know at this point that I'm so confident in this editor, he's going to take this shit out. Right. So I look at him and I go, really? Like, stop with the fucking fan. So I go back to the show and I'm about halfway through my set and I just leave the set and I just go, San Bernardino. And I just start going, it's 115. I'm like, why would you have a comedy show? And then I go, why do you people fucking live here? Do you have is this free? Is it free to live here? Did they just give you a plot of land?
They started rolling.
Yeah, and I was killing because I was so angry.
But and they know audiences are smarter than you think.
Yeah,
and they're dumber than you think. Our job is to figure out which one's in front of you the moment you get there. So the moment you turn that switch, they were like, they knew you were doing a fucking act, and the minute you just went, what the fuck? They were like, now we're talking. Now we got some dialogue. It's hot as fuck.
There were people, when I walked on stage, I swear to God, look out of the eyes, there were people asleep.
Yes.
Like that airplane kind of sleep where your head's on your shoulders and you're all sprawled out with your back up. And I thought, you can't. Really? I'm going to do comedy to a crowd like this?
They don't
Why
know.
even put an audience? Just I'll pretend. I'll act it out.
I'm with you.
I'll Bob and Tom show it.
I love it. You didn't snap, which is a big boy thing. I like that. I'm proud of you, man. You ain't done, man. This is a big thing. Eddie Ifft putting in the time, the 10,000 hours, and Malcolm Gladwell spoke about. For you to put in your 10,000 hours snap free is like you're a guy that's going to be the neighbor on a show. There's no doubt about it.
No, it's not going to. I just said that I was texting a friend. I'm like, I'm thinking about opening a CrossFit gym or something.
You should. And do comedy in your gym between rounds. So for those of you that watch the Showtime specials, Tommy Chong 420, Ian Bagg, Jay Mohr, you have to realize it was 111 degrees inside a theater, and Tommy Chong was upstairs asleep like a wounded Viet Cong sniper on a fucking makeshift bed. And his wife goes out. This is when I had to leave.
She does the show.
Ugh, it's a fucking mess. And I'll go on record as saying that's a fucking disaster. When Shelby Chong goes out and goes, well, Tommy's upstairs getting sick. I guess that means more stage time for me. Like, you know what, bitch? There's a reason I don't see Springsteen anymore. It's because fucking Patty Scialfa's doing 2 songs between Backstreets and Born to Run. What the
fuck? Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was bad. I saw him at the sports arena. He goes, I think it's time for a lady's touch. And everyone's like, we don't. And I went to the bathroom and I waited in line. She did it's the E Street Band. Why about Nils Lofgren? Where's his tune? How about fucking Little Stevie? He's on The Sopranos. Let him say a few words.
Wow.
So she does 2 songs from her weird album and I'm waiting at a urinal. And then as I finally get to the urinal, as piss begins to flow, I hear the opening piano chords to Backstreets. And I realize at that moment, if I ever meet Patty Scialfa, I'm kicking her in the fucking ass.
It was like I went to University of Pittsburgh and Ralph Willard was the basketball coach there. And
Curtis Martin.
And his son was on the team.
Fred Willard.
And I forget what his son's name is, but his son got way too much playing time. Way too much. And I remember when he used to come out, the whole crowd would boo him.
I like that. I dig that. You went to University of Pitt?
Yeah.
I dig it. So anybody out there, make sure you watch Eddie Ifft on 420, Tommy Chong's 420 show. And I want you to watch it and realize what a fucking pro you're dealing with. That he did his whole show down the barrel. It's great. It's like a guy eating it on The Tonight Show. You just keep going.
I just felt like an actor. I wasn't a comedian. I was an actor. I was performing.
But you said you can't do it on the punchline. I had people yell shit on my punchline, and I knew like how fucked the situation was, and I would literally like make sure my body was in the same position, and I would just say my punchline again, thinking they'll sweeten it or something.
I have to say, I watched you as you were my model. I'm watching you, and I'm going, Jay's not getting mad. I shouldn't get mad.
That night, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
watching. I'm like, if Jay's mad, then
In my mind, I'm going, this is fucking crazy. Come on.
Well, I was kind of like, this
Of
is
all
crazy.
the nights.
But I just kept thinking they're going to scrap it. They're just going to go, we just wasted a shitload of money.
No, that's what they